It was my intention on this Mother's Day to do a report about my mom, but when I started putting it together, I found that over the years my family took far too few photos, and sadly most of them are of me. During this time of hunkering down, I think a lot of people are going through their archives and bringing out old photos. So forgive me, but my planned tribute to my mother is a trip down memory lane, and there's far too much of me in it. For me, it begins at 107 John Street in Washington, Indiana. For my mother, her childhood began in an earlier version of this house in Lagodi, Indiana. She was one of 6 children. One of my uncles confirmed that in her youth, she was a real looker. I have few memories of my mother when I was really young. I guess that means I had a normal childhood. My real memories of my mother start with grade school, with me on First Communion Day. I can't believe how pious I looked. I guess all Catholic first graders look pious on First Communion Day. The nuns had a lot to do with that. They were some of the nicest women on earth. At that age, I seemed to have had nothing to worry about. Mom and Dad were always there. There are darn few photos of my dad in the archives. He was a very tall man who seldom smiled. Except in this photo, I was about 16 months old. His mother, my grandmother, was a true influence on me, the only grandparent I remember. She was a simple farm woman who today should have her own cable show. Every day she called and told me to tell my dad to pick up cookies tomorrow. I asked Mom why Grandma continued to flood our house with cookies. She said, "It gives her a reason to get up tomorrow." Grade school was a fun time. I liked it more than high school. And I've got to remember my sister. I keep leaving her out of my life story. I was 10 in the photo. She was a toddler. She would go on to be an often heard broadcaster in southern Indiana and work for big city government. Oh, there are some photos of my mom in the archives. They paint the picture of a woman who was far too talented for the town in which she lived, and a woman who faded over the years. My trips home from the East Coast after I moved showed me she was slowing in her attempts to even get in the house, and slowing in her realization that her life was moving on. One summer, long after my dad died, I went back to 107 John to clean out the house. Closing the door for the last time was a trauma. I left my childhood there. Mom had moved to a new address. She would live there 3 deteriorating years. The high school girl who was the heartthrob of Lagodi, Indiana, who had matured into a wife and a mother, had lost her memory. She lay there staring into space, waiting, not even knowing who I was. Mom died in November of 2005. I am no longer the boy in the white First Communion suit. Now I have white hair. But Mom is not really gone. For in my sister and me are the memories of a woman who would cry when a leaf fell off a tree, who thought she was a failure. For were it not for her, my sister and I would not be here. Happy Mother's Day. I'm Dennis Daly.